talk about Neil. Neil is the president and COO of Agent HR Recruiting Group and the founder of one of the top recruiting training and development companies in the industry, the dynamicsale.com. Featured countless times on Bloomberg TV, CNN, ABC News, Wall Street Journal, CNBC, and New York One, Fortune Magazine, and Smart Money. He has been called the Anthony Robbins of the recruiting industry. Before taking the industry by storm as a trainer, Neil was global president of Adecco, the world's largest staffing and recruiting firm, where he sat on the global executive team and ran a $1 billion division. He also served as president and COO of Agilon, is where I first got to know Neil, and his profession, which is a professional staffing for the North America, where he oversaw more than 100 offices. So let's give a warm round of applause and welcome to Neil Lebovits.
Well played. Hello, everybody. The coveted keynote end of the day slot. The coveted 4:30 keynote position. Oh, glorious, glorious keynote. How we love you. Oh, the blood sugar is running low, right? It's literally the worst slot any speaker can ever have. In fact, so much that when you get the last slot at the end of the day, you always have to add on like 1 point to your ratings, because let's be honest, a lot of you are crabby as hell right now. All right, we got the jet lag, the coveted spot. It's 4:30 really right now, 7:30 Eastern time. Anyone out late last night? Anyone going for cocktails at 5:30? So you see, this is not a pleasant position to be in. So my job, and the funny thing is, when Julie first signed me up, a keynote, I thought I would be opening up TechServe, because traditionally, keynote really means that. It's the leading note, if you will, and a speech that ties together the entire function, brings everything together. And then she let me know, yeah, your slot's going to be at 4:15. I wanted to choke her, so I am hoping you're all going to be kind. We're going to keep this pretty exciting. And what I want to talk to you about is exactly that, the key to business success. And look, you could talk about anything and say it's a key to business success. But your employees, their engagement, their motivation, at the end of the day, no matter what you do, no matter what, that's going to be the key for putting it together or not. So what I'm going to do is talk about the keys to engagement, some scary statistics for you. We're going to talk about this concept that I talk about in a normal keynote that I do about intermittent renewal. And I have a keynote online. I suggest everyone, if you make a note, sign up for my free training at the dynamicsale.com. You'll get links for a whole bunch of stuff. It's really awesome. It's really good free training, videos, books. But I have a keynote in there that will talk about this energy stuff that I'm going to touch on, maybe about a third of it in this presentation. So if you're really into that stuff, it's great stuff, and that's called Outperform the Storm. And we're going to, again, talk about intermittent renewal. And what I really want to do, and this is frankly, when we were going through the agenda and setting up the topic with Julie kicked it back like 3 times. She said, no, not good, not good enough. No, this is not what I want. And honestly, I mean, I normally don't have that many back and forths about it. She said, I want you to pound your chest. I want them to hear your story. I want tips. I want what you implemented, what you did, and what you've learned about engagement. So that's really what we're going to do. So it's going to be chock full of stories. And, you know, Jack told you my background. I had a very successful rise in the industry. Started with Robert Half on the perm desk, became a division manager very quickly, became a branch manager, an area manager. And what really ended up happening was I kept rising. I got recruited to a company called Accountants on Call, AOC, which later changed its name to Agilon. And I had great success doing and using a lot of the things that I'm going to teach you. Now, they're not all Neil-isms. Some of them are. I certainly, have been a voracious, reader and love to learn from the greats, and you'll, probably hear lots of them sprinkled in there. But the bottom line is I reached the pinnacle that I thought I could reach in my company. I was there, about 10 years. I've been in the industry for about 25, by the way. And I was really burnt out. I was your typical disengaged employee. Now, I'm going to get into the definition of it. I wasn't actively disengaged. That's not my personality. I wasn't a water cooler person, but I by no means was engaged. So I'm burnt out. I'm not myself. I'm not as productive as I should be. And, the bottom line is I saw a lot of people in the company were that way. So here's what really happened. They appointed a new global president for the division. That is ultimately the position. When Jack mentioned I was global president, I eventually got that position. But they brought in a European bigwig. The guy was based in Belgium. He moved into our headquarters in New Jersey. And he said, of everything that he has going on in the world, you are our biggest problem. Now, when I say you, he didn't say Neil. He meant your company. And so he's going to be based there, and we had a president. She had cancer. She was out on leave. We had a senior VP or executive VP who was next in charge that really wanted to wait until she got back. We had turnover, attrition, approaching 80%, 80. Okay, and again, you know that this industry has very high turnover numbers, which is why you're probably all here. So the engagement levels were horrible. We did pulse surveys and all that sort of stuff, and it was really horrific. So here's the long and short of it. I really had nothing to lose. I've always been a straight shooter. This global president interviewed all of the executive team and said, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Why are the results? And, I really have always been a straight shooter, but I had nothing to lose because I was burnt out, and I laid it out to him. I told him all the problems, and long and short, I got a call, and he said, listen, how'd you like to run the company? And I was shocked, and this happens. Now, bear in mind, I ran the East Coast with the profit. It was about a third of the company. The other 2/3 of the people only knew me from national meetings where I spoke all the time. I was a character. I would joke around, goof around. We'd be silly. So they knew me as the silly guy that got good results. And I was appointed basically president. It was acting COO with no president in place. Neil, you'll be president once you get the results or when the timing's right. You're running the show. Make it happen. And the guy that was sent to be in New Jersey for the entire time took off and went back to Europe, and he said, there you go, make it happen. So there I am, all right, it's 2001, right before September 11th, and then the announcement came shortly thereafter. So everything was in chaos. I'm facing a company with 80% turnover. I told you the pulse level, the engagement was horrific, the water cooler talk. There was just a lack of something, the X factor, if you would. And it's the engagement that I'm going to talk about. It was just missing. All the tools were in place. When you're a company that was our size, we have all the stuff. We hired good people, or so we thought. So what went wrong? And that's what I was charged with fixing. How do you get this passion back? What's the direction? What's the vision? And I'm going to talk a lot about vision, all right, and what we need to do. So I'm appointed, they announce it, the entire company, except for my region, who's really excited, this is nuts. This is the end of the company. The company's going down. We're all going to quit. Everyone's putting their resumes online. And I had to do something, and I had to do something fast. So again, what I'm going to share with you are all of the little things that I did. And the end result of this story is that our turnover dropped down to what I said it would, which would be 30%. Which for a company our size is tremendous. Our engagement level went through the roof. The quality of the people that we were able to hire and retain dramatically went up. And yes, we played with other tools. We did a lot of other things. But what I focused on was the engagement element. And it was easy for me because I was one of them. I was one of the disengaged people or the not engaged people. So I just wanted to tap into my soul. What was bothering me? What did I love about the company when I started? And what you need to know is my company was an amazing company when I joined. I joined the company with about 30 offices, about $40 million in revenue. And by the time I became president, or let's say by the time I left as president, and I was in that for about 7 years, we were about a $500 million company and with 300 different business lines. So we saw tremendous growth, but we started as a mom and pop company, like many of you are. We started with a flexibility. We started with a, just great customer service MO. We started with an absolute passion for working around people, for people being themselves, for not being stuffy and not being corporate. And what happened to our company is what happened to many companies. We became corporate. We started putting in processes and procedures and handbooks and rules and guidelines that even small firms do, because that's the thing to do. Okay, what I'm going to tell you is I'm not against those things. You do need guidelines, but it has destroyed engagement in the United States. And again, I think you could think about some of your own situations and see how that's the case, and I'm going to share with you some statistics. So again, I want to share with you literally a bunch of the things that I did. We only have an hour and change, so I can't do everything, but bear with me. So this worked. We went from when he had to live in New Jersey as the worst performing division in all of Adecco, which is not a fun place to be. I remember I went to a global meeting in Paris, and we were all the way at the bottom of every slide, and it motivated me to get myself up to the top of that. All right, I kept on getting promoted, and when I got promoted to the global position, we had become the top performer out of all the divisions, okay? And again, it was not about, redoing this or redoing that or just cleaning house. It was about getting everyone engaged, okay? If you want to see my bio, I do urge you all, you'll get an invite to connect with me on LinkedIn if you join my free training. Look me up, connect with me. I have about 4,000 staffing and recruiting connections only, so it'll come to be a value for you one day. Okay, so I want to share a little bit because I think it's really important, and it was at the essence of what I ended up implementing. And this is part of that keynote that I told you about. Jim Lair created a book, and it's The Power of Full Engagement. It really has some great stuff. It's very psychological. It gets into some key areas, and I want to touch on a couple of them. But what he talks about is, listen, the way that we are set up, the way your people are set up, corporate America does not work. It doesn't. It's a messed up system. Now, we can get political and talk about the U.S. and everything going on, but it's really messed up. People work way too hard. They work much harder than the rest of the world, and it's some things that it's just, and the whole world is nuts with technology, right? So technology has really, in his mind, in my mind, and a lot of people, it's really helped get people even more disengaged. The more technology increases, the more stress people end up having. I mean, think about the digital time, relentless. Your iPhones and your droids and, all the overload and everything. We have all of these tools. There just isn't enough time in the day. You're overwhelmed with tasks. You're constantly on the go, and that's creating tremendous amounts of stress. So here's the thing, and I use this when I get into my time management training. Again, you'll see parts of that on that free video if you want to see it. But the premise is that there are fixed numbers of hours in the day. Fixed. You can't manage time, right? And it's about energy, okay? It's about managing your energy. And this is why I say, this is a little esoteric, but I want you to think about this. You only have limited energy. How do you expect your employees to come in, especially in a lingering recession or recovery, which it might be this way, we might be the next Japan, who knows? Another decade of it, I don't know. But you expect them to come in, again, even when times are good, 8, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, 3 months a quarter, 4 quarters a year, 10 years a decade, for 20, 30, 40 years, whatever their careers are going to be. I know, I'm depressing it. Look at your faces. I wish you could see. You're all like, oh, my God. Are you not supposed to be inspirational? Yes, look at you. Wow. I'm sorry that I've scared you. But think about it. Think about what we expect people to do, and that's why it really falls apart. So life should be measured by how you invest your energy, okay? And energy is key. You can look at any medical show, and that's the very core. Nutrition, energy is really the whole key to life. So this is what you need to ask yourselves for the whole engagement issue. How engaged are you? Rhetorical. How engaged are you? How engaged are your people? How excited are you to come to work on Monday? How excited are you on January 1st after the holidays? What do you feel like? And this is always a good barometer. Anyone out there, be honest if you're there, you're sitting at home, you're enjoying your weekend, all of a sudden, you see the 60-minute second hand start ticking and you get this horrible gut in your feeling, and right, this horrible feeling, right? That little deathly clock, meaning the weekend is over and work's to be starting tomorrow, all right? Which is a great close for candidates, by the way, but do you have that? Do your employees have that, okay? And is there a mission? Why are people coming to work? Why are you coming to work? Are you moody? Are your people moody? Are they stable? And I could tell you what the majority of your answers are for all of those things, and you know what they are. So let's get into the core of it and why. Gallup, and they have great stuff if you go to gallup.com if you're interested in this. They have statistics out the wazoo. But they have been the leaders in doing studies on engagement for years. And the numbers consistently come in right around the same point. This is the most recent stuff. And if you want to look at it, they will look at a ratio of people that are actively engaged versus the people who are just engaged. So you should have many more engaged people than you should have people that are actively disengaged. And Gallup looks at people in three groups. Okay? There are people that are actively engaged. They have the passion, they're into it, which is really where you want most of your employees and yourself to be. You have people that are engaged or somewhat engaged or not engaged, right, in that spectrum. And then you have those, so you got engaged, you got not engaged, and then you have actively disengaged, the water cooler people, the cancers, those that are spreading it around. And you should have an almost 10-to-1 ratio of fully engaged people or engaged people to actively disengaged. And the real ratio, as you could see, is about 1.8, less than 2-to-1. Okay, the studies that you see are amazing. How productive do you think the average worker is? Anyone want to take a guess percentage-wise? Throw out a number. Anyone? 30, 35, 28. I love that. Pi. Pi always seems to fit in somewhere, doesn't it? You know, I know 3.1415926654. You know, I've learned that since like 5th grade, and I use it all the time. Yes, I'm that exciting of a person. Yes, it's true. I really do have quite the life. So, look, all your numbers were right. 20 to 40%. Most stats will show 28%. No, they won't, but they'll show somewhere in the 20s. The most you're ever going to see is 40% productive, right? Microsoft famous study that they had that was all over everywhere was 17 out of 45 hours a week are actually productive. Gallup again, 30%, okay, at most are actively and fully engaged. 30% at most. All right, 58% are not engaged. The majority of your people not engaged. Think about that. Scary, but it's true. And these aren't statistics that I'm making up. And you never know that with speakers, by the way. It's true. Speakers can make up any statistic they want. Do you know that 69.27% of speakers make up their statistics? Okay. I used that once and not one person laughed or got it. I'm like, it's a joke. Okay. So think about this, all right? And so 16% now, and the number, you know, has always been in that 16, almost 20%, are actively disengaged, water cooler and what have you. Okay, so, and you also see trends that the longer people stay, no matter what their engagement level is, the more disengaged they become. So how do you keep your long-term talent, your veterans, the producers, you, happy and motivated and really effective, okay? So what I'm not going to get into too much is your people are angry. They blame you for the economy, right? I mean, certainly the disengaged do. You know who I'm talking about, right? It's all your fault, right? You're doing something wrong, yada, yada, yada. But I'm telling you, the people we recruit, which is great news, are angry. It's good news, and it's really great to be a recruiter in this environment. Because the more people get upset, the candidate pool, the more people will move. And if you've noticed, if you follow the stats, the Career Builder, the Indeed and Monster in particular indices, they report them monthly. We've been seeing great increase every single month in the number of job postings, far greater than job growth. And that's because now people are getting used to it. As long as people continue to move, right, there's going to be job openings for recruiters to fill on a temporary or permanent basis, okay? I don't want to get too much more into that, but then understand that something doesn't work. right? You can't just train people, which many of you aren't doing. And just because I'm a trainer and I have all these wonderful tools, whether it's with me or ARG for your team, that we could train all of them, it's not enough. You can't just train people, put them in there, and say, hey, get those numbers up, okay? You have huge control over the engagement, over how they use their energy, okay, and the results that they can get. So there's another great analogy that I want to touch on that's in that book, and it talks about the corporate athlete. And it's something that I've talked about all the times, but think about this. Athletes, right, what do? They work on training so that they could perform. They spend 90% of their time, right, training, preparing, getting ready, making sure they're in their good mood before the game, not dealing with any of the nonsense or whatever, and 10% performing, right? They have all these rituals and stuff that I'm not going to get into, but it's 90-10, okay? It's also 90-10 for you and for your people. But it's the other way around, isn't it? Right? You spend and you make your people spend 90% of their time performing. And 10% at most, and this is for those of you that are great, at most you're spending 10% of the time training, discussing, mentoring, guiding, really leading, helping. 90% on the phones. Day in and day out, as I said. Week after week, month after month, year after year. And it doesn't work. And not only do they get to train and do all this in sports, but they get an off season. Right? The World Series just ended. Okay? Who here is taking off October until April? Anyone? Anyone? I didn't think so. Right? It's a pretty darn good life. And their careers only last, 4, 5 years, 10 years if you're an unbelievable star? The careers for you and for your people are 40 years, maybe 65 years. Who knows? But right now it's 45 years really from when you graduate college and what your career is. It does not work is the point. You can't perform over and over and over again and stay motivated and stay happy. You just can't do it. So again, the key is in managing your energy, and you do it with that concept that I mentioned in the beginning, which is intermittent renewal. And this is the key. It means sprint, and again, I'm going to cover a lot of stuff on here. I'm not worried about you following the slides so much. You guys will get access to all this, okay? But the concept is that life is not a marathon, right? You've all heard that expression? What's a marathon? Yeah, a 26.2-mile race, that's a marathon. There's a beginning and there's an end. Life can't be a marathon. What does that mean? Keep running, die. Right? Seriously, that's what it implies. It can't be. Your work for your people can't be a marathon. Your business culture, your workstations, your week. It can't be a weekly marathon that starts on Monday morning at 8 a.m. and ends Friday at 5 or 6. It can't be. It's too long of a marathon. And again, people get burnt out. So, what is it when we talk about intermittent renewal? It means that life is really a series of sprints. It's a series of sprints, and then you stop and you pause. A series of sprints, and then you renew. Intermittent renewal. It's about taking the highs that people get and getting them to go nuts and to be super productive during these limited bursts, and then let them renew. Let them be silly, let them have fun. But know you could be so much more productive, so much more by working with this sprint concept. And you will not burn people out. Just the opposite happens. Because they'll want to perform over and over again, and they know that there's plenty of renewal. But it's against our culture. It is against our culture. We are a world that is against rest. We're hostile towards it. Hostile. It's not part of the U.S. culture. Heck, yes, we will give you 2 weeks of vacation after your first year. What? Who has that policy? Seriously, raise your hands. All right, who here worked for a company before that had that policy? What? Think about that. Come in, work nonstop, 50 weeks, and then we'll give you 2 weeks vacation. When Europe, and this is what I loved working for a European company. Hey, well, Neil, you're going to have to start now that you're an executive. You come on here, you're going to have to start there, where we can only increase your vacation after you get up. We don't base it on your 20 years with the company. I'm like, uh-huh. So you're going to get the same 6 weeks that everyone gets, all right? Yeah? 6 weeks of what? Seriously. And then for every 5 years, we'll give you another week. And so 6 weeks vacation. That's Europe. Okay, that's almost the rest of the world. All right, Italy, it shuts down in August. I mean, I'm just saying, everyone, they get the renewal concept. So, now what happens? Why don't we shut down enough? The end result is people, again, they're not engaged. So just to say, you have to buy into this, buy into how it affects you, and say, you know what? I'm going to change that. No, I changed lots of things. Again, as I mentioned, we got about a little more than a half hour to get through all of this. But there's so many things you can do. So how did I tap into this? As an example, I immediately increased the vacation time. People got vacation the minute we hire them. Okay, if we're going to hire them, I need them to renew. What happens when you get back from a vacation? I don't mean the first day when you're dreading it because you're over. You feel, isn't that a great week or two after you get back? Aren't you so much more productive than you were? Not the week immediately before a vacation, because there you're amazing, right? But you all know what I'm talking about. So if we could all be as productive as that, but that's the thing. That's a true sprint. You know you're going away. I know I'm going to be going on this cruise, and I'm going to go nuts, and I'm going to be excited about it, and there's an end right at the end, and relaxation. La, la, right on the little, I don't sing. That was my Hawaiian leg out of the beach music. Oh, boy. Okay. So I immediately gave people more vacation. Get this. Knowing we were losing money and that I would never be promoted, believing in this so much, knowing how I was and witnessing all my people throughout the years, I added a week vacation to all my employees nationally. A week. Why did I do it? Well, it was going to cost us on the accrual line, but we made ways that we didn't have to pay for it, as much, okay? We made it use it or lose it, because I don't want this to be a benefit. I don't just want to pay people extra money, okay? So you had to use it, but I knew if they used it, they would come back more productive and they'd be renewing. And that was one of the many things. Again, was it this that made all the results go up? I'm just telling you a bunch of things that worked when we put them all together. Okay, so I did that. I made sure that they used it, and it's really, really critical, okay? All right. So we talked about this sprint, and the bottom line is I want you to think what you can do at work. Now, again, on the time management, the quick tip I can give you is this method's unbelievable. All right, if you just set up your day from, let's say, 9:30 a.m. till 11:30 or 12, where you're going to have no interruptions, where you're going to be a machine, where you're going to be committed to that's your sprint, and the rest of the day, look, you'll work, but you can look at email, you can do your online shopping, you can deal with employees, you can look at the payroll stuff, you could do some of the non-priority items. You're going to be twice as productive as everybody else, and so will your people. That's why call blocks, that sort of strategy is really effective. Not because you're micromanaging people, because I'm going to work really hard for this 1 hour every day, and I'm going to be an SOB. You are all on the phone. We're going to help you with it. I'll get you tools. We'll get you training. We'll get you scripts, but you're on the phone. No interruptions, no anything. And then work at your own pace the rest of the day. And I encouraged play. Just like fish. I read lots of books. Anyone here read the book Fish about the Seattle fish market, right? Awesome stuff. Read it. It's an unbelievable book about these fishmongers, and not even the mongers, but the staff that make minimum wage, and they are like, quadruple the results of everyone else. It's like one of the highest turnover businesses. I mean, working in a smelly fish market, coming home, getting minimum wage, these guys never leave. They're throwing around fish. In fact, they're just having fun is the point. That if you allow fun, if you allow silliness, if you allow intermittent sprint and goofing and all that stuff that we say you can't do, it's not professional. It's not corporate enough, that the results are to go through the roof. In my first meeting, we ended up buying a 20-pound tuna, And we ended up throwing it around. Like here, I wouldn't do it here, I'd get in big trouble. We literally threw around a 20-pound tuna. It was really, really fun. Okay, that's why this stuff works. And again, you need to bring fun back into the game. So, what did I do? How did I get my moods up? One of the key things that you want to do, besides time management and call blocks and all that stuff alone, is going to work great. But what you want to do is ride the storm when you're in a good place. And take a break when you feel like it. Now, many of you are owners here, okay? And some of you are sole practitioners. Most of you have staff. All right, so the thing is, when you're in that zone, when your people are in that zone, go nuts. Keep on sprinting. Don't just stop because it's an hour. You have that great deal you just closed, a great client feedback that you just got, that employee that just came to you and said you were the best mentor they ever had. Whatever it is that gets you in that good place, right? You all know what I'm talking about? Ride it. And when you just don't feel like picking up the phone, don't pick up the phone. You earned it. Because you're sprinting and you're resting. It can't be a marathon. And again, same for your people. So this is really key. And how do you get there? For me, I said, all right, what motivates me? I love training people. I love mentoring people. I love making people's lives better. So anytime I got a little down or I needed a little juice, I would send out an email with some great tips or whatever it is, knowing I'm sending it out to a couple of thousand employees. I'm going to get like 5 or 10 people just saying how it made their day, how it came at the right time, thank you for this, and that got me on a high to go and do my thing. It worked so much for me, and again, so much for other people, that we created what you call Make Someone's Day campaign, where not only is it good for customer service, but we instructed all of our staff, we need you, today is the day. Do it once a month, once every other week. Today's the day where you're each going to go out of your way to make someone's day. Whatever it is, that person who calls you, you do that little extra thing, and when you make their day, not only is that great for business and referrals, but it's great for the person who does the good deed, and they're going to be incredibly productive. So we built an entire campaign around that kind of thing. I encouraged silliness. I encourage people to rest. When I would go into a branch and someone would see me around the corner and they'd be on eBay or whatever, and you've had that, right? And they immediately minimize their screen. I'm like, open the screen. You're on eBay. I don't care. You're a great employee. You can do your shopping. Hopefully you're not spending too much time on there. Don't hide it because I'm walking around. And I made sure if I did, I wouldn't hide it. Someone came into my office and I was on Yahoo or whatever. I don't spend too much time on it, but live it up. Come on in. I blared music as president. First thing I did, set up speakers everywhere, crank music. You know what? It turns out that people like music. But no music policy we adopted before I became president. Oh, it interrupts it. People like music. We added music to all sorts of things. We loaded all the branches with MP3s during the holidays and mood stuff. Music is great again. It's good, just like you go in the elevators and they have that nice soothing music. Don't you love the elevator music? Seriously, I get in there, I'm like, wow, I want to go to the spa, right? It's like, You not have that? Am I the only one that's, no one's soothed by the elevator. That's what you're telling me? Okay, I'm soothed. I'm soothed by the pool, music. Again, all sorts of, okay, Neil, music, thank you. Move on, give us some better tips. I'm just saying, the corporate MO, the what's appropriate, isn't what works. People want something where they can be themselves, right? Where they can live their lives normally, where they can have fun, they can joke around. It's not discouraged, it's encouraged. I would insist on a one weekly meeting when it's seasonally right, people to have it outside. Take a break, have a meeting under the trees. Take your staff out for whatever. All my national meetings were key. We cut our national meetings due to a budget, which was the death blow to the company, I thought. Why are you guys here? How much are you guys going to be motivated when you go back? Most of you you already have 100 things written down that you want to do, and you're not even halfway done with this. Your people feel the same way. So how can you motivate them? So I brought back not only one meeting, 2 meetings a year. Is it an expense? No, it's an investment. Same deal with training. Again, whether it's through me or anyone else, if you put them to boot camp, a virtual boot camp, you do all these other things, it's important because A, you're investing in them, okay? But again, it keeps that energy level up. Okay, so there's another book that I strongly recommend. It's a book called Nuts. Raise your hand if you read that book. Okay? Great book. You should all read the two of them. It's by Herb Kelleher. It's about, 10 years old, right? The ex-CEO of Southwest Airlines. This guy lives that and created the most successful airline, business really in the world, certainly during his tenure. And it's unbelievable. It's just about a guy that tapped into all of this stuff. People pretend they like the corporate world, or you've been brainwashed, but they don't. They like to have fun. They like to be silly. They like to let their hair down. And he made his people work their butts off, but he let them play with their butts off too. Again, intermittent renewal. You're going to see a very big theme there all the time, okay? So this is really key. So let's talk about now, mental energy. And again, if I just, did the keynote on energy, we talk about physical energy and mental energy and spiritual energy. But mental energy is really, really key. And people need to be mentally engaged. Now, what's your vision? Really, what's your vision for your people? And this is what we're going to talk about. How are you tickling their mind? How are you getting them really excited about wanting to do what they need to do all the time? And there's a key thing. And again, you're going to see this vision thing all over the place. People need to know that the people leading them, the people that are really owning their careers, aren't just down at the ground level, that you guys have a big plan. Just like they want for the president of the U.S. or anyone. What's your vision? What is your plan? Again, when I get to the slide here, you're going to see the key thing for making any change. And this is very Tony Robbins-esque. Anthony, if you want to be formal. But people need a passion, right? It's Tony said, you need a passion. You need to have a passion and a compelling reason to do anything. Quitting smoking, losing weight, changing something, building a habit. You need a purpose, a defining purpose, a real reason for wanting to do it. Then you need truth, which is, do I have it? Do I have the ability? What's in my way? Why am I not doing it? Am I making excuses? Okay? What do I need to do to make it happen? Then action, doing it. But the biggest thing, as the motivational speakers will tell you, is the compelling reason to want to do something. What's your compelling reason for your business? Is it just to make X amount of dollars? Got news for you. It's not going to fly for your employees. That's not enough reason for them. Do you think, is it working that you just motivate your people with money? Do we think that it's been proven in every study that money is not the biggest motivator? Okay, we're going to go really nuts now. We're behind budget. I need you guys to do this. We got to have a better quarter so you'll make more money. It's not about the money. The money is important. But what's important to them is, why do they get up in the morning? And I want you to think about that for today. Why do they get up and work for you? What's in it for them? What are you going to do for them? What's the real thing you're building? Is it the most green firm? Is it the firm where everyone are going to be the envy of all the competitors because of how successful we are and how we're able to get the best people because we have the most fun? Are we the silliest firm that connects with people? What is it? You need a vision. And you'll hear that and you'll see that with every great leader book that you ever see. I'm not saying I'm a great leader. I'm just saying in the other books. I don't have a book on it. All right? You need a vision, and the great news is, even if it's not a great vision, it's better than nothing. What I would do regularly, I used to do this in my region, then I did it with the entire company, is I would come to meetings like this and talk to hundreds of our managers, and would say, okay, guys, here's where we're going to be in the next year. Here's where we're going to go. Okay? Our turnover is going to go down X, and here's how we're going to do it. Picture your branches. Picture the success is so great that you're all going to have laptops now that you're going to take home. You're all going to have iPads. Picture that everyone's going to have a $1,000 cappuccino maker in the lobby for you and for all the people that come in. Picture that once we get this and put it together, we're going to invest it back so you've got the prettiest front office of any of your competitors. And laid out 50 major things that we're going to do. Now, the risk is you can't just say it. You need to deliver. But I remember this. It was November 5th, 2001 conference call. I still have it on DVD. And I will say 2/3 of the people thought I was nuts. They thought I was Herb Kelleher. What drugs is this guy on? Well, oh my God. And I'm going to tell you, you ask the same people that heard it over and over again. 5 years later, 80% of our branches renovated, state-of-the-art wood, unbelievable chairs, cappuccino makers, all that sort, laptops for everyone. I mean, again, we had to get the results. But what's in it for them? And it doesn't just have to be physical things, and you can get down to the individual level. But you need to have a vision of what's going to happen. And I don't care. I'm not a big guy into mission statements or vision statements that are written down. Some are, and believe me, I'm sure it works if you're into it. I just don't buy into that stuff. But I buy into a vision and a statement about your vision. I don't really care. We didn't sit with a group. All right, no, I don't like this word. It's just like I'm telling you now. They need a reason to want to get up every day and do what you need them to do. The more fun you make it, the more you work in blocks, the more you have them sprint and then take it easy, sprint and take it easy, sprint and take it easy. Again, renew with vacation time off, give them flexibility and things that they want, the more they'll never leave. I wanted to make my place a place where no one will want to leave. They only leave if they're not successful. An exclusive club, if you will. You need to be successful. But you tell us what you want. What makes you happy? Ask them. Ask your people what they want. Ask them what's not good. Ask them what you should change. You're not promising you're going to change it all. When I took over the company, I had, and boy, I do regret this now only because it's a really collector's item. I had a 1989 Jaguar red convertible. I mean, it looked like it was from the 1940s. It was beautiful. I asked if I could sell it to the company for the Blue Book value, which was ridiculous. I auctioned off the Jaguar randomly to anyone who gives an idea when I first took over, and we had a whole campaign. We're turning over the keys to the company. We're turning it over to you. Meaning, you tell us what we need to fix. Tell us what needs to be better. We're not saying we're going to get to everything, but we're going to listen. We're going to listen, and all the things we can do that would make it be a place I wanted to work for, we're going to do. And who cares, especially when you guys own your own firms, who cares what your competitor is doing? Who cares that this isn't the way Robert Half or Kelly or any of the big companies are set up? I didn't care because I knew it would work. I always was a rebel and did it within my own region, and my results were twice that of anyone else. Why? Consistently. Always double everyone else. Well, Neil, we have they're not allowed to have vacation. Yeah, my people are getting vacation their first year. Would I hide it? Would I lie? Yeah, absolutely. I did. I did all these sorts of things. It was great to finally become president where I can roll it out nationally and see that all this stuff works, and it does. So, again, the key thing here is to tap into really what everyone wants to and share with them how you're going to get there. By the way, as a result of you working really hard for me each week. That's why we're going to do it. Jeans, overwhelmingly, people wanted to come in business casual. Fine. Come in business casual as much as you want. We got rid of the dress code. Look, some of you say, no way, you get better calls. That's for you to gauge. I liked wearing a suit when I feel like wearing a suit and feeling good. I like wearing jeans. As president, I wore jeans as much as I could to prove a point. We would have meetings like this. No way was it business casual. Why? We're on a thing. Wear shorts. You're in Phoenix. Wear jeans. It's okay. I'd be up here in shorts at this meeting with my people. Not to prove a point, but other than, it kind of was. But it's just what we all want. So, but again, I listened to people, and they told me. And it was no different than what I felt personally. Okay, and these are all the things that you can do. So, but what we're talking about here is, bottom line, this is about leadership. It's not about managing. It's not about mentoring people. Mentoring is very important, right? And that's really guiding them on the day-to-day and being there for their career. And managing someone is, it's a difference between a leader or, let's say a manager on a ball field or a coach. Right? Look at a coach versus a manager and what their jobs are in sports. So your job, it's really important to be a leader. So look at these things, and they're really key. People need to feel significant, again, and that's them feeling significant, That's a reason for existing, a reason for coming in every day. They need that at the inner core of keeping them engaged. So you find a way to tap into that. They need to be recognized constantly, too much. Your people need to be recognized. Do you have something formal in place to make sure that that happens all the time? You got to set that up. We set up all sorts of crazy recognition, regular conference calls that I would do. I would address the entire company every single month about state of the economy, success stories in branches, individual success stories, highlight new people that have done wonderful things, people that did great things on their own. We had an email account where everyone could submit the stuff. It started off slowly, and wow, we had to pick which things made the conference call that we did via webinar every single month. And people wanted it every month. Okay, all sorts of these contests and all these things. Okay, people want to be understood, and we've talked about that. Ask them. Listen to them. If people want to work from home, look, if someone's that passionate, find a way to get them to work from home. We did it, by the way, before the last recession. We did that in the 90s. Remember those days? Remember when the economy was unbelievable? The staffing industry was phenomenal. It was impossible to find people. The whole world did it. We'd give people whatever they wanted. Why not? Because you don't have to? Come on. You don't need to, but if you have someone really good, they're going to go and work virtually somewhere anyway. Figure out a way to get it done, not to make the excuses. Be adaptable. Okay? And again, when you say to be understood or to be challenged, work around people's strengths and figure out a way to utilize that. When did we become so cookie cutter? Right, so that this is how it goes. This is the position now. We've grown big now. We have 8 people. You're going to fit into this position. I can move you over here. Why? If someone stinks at cold calling to companies, but they're an unbelievable recruiter, even though you don't have dedicated recruiters, why aren't you coming up with a dedicated recruiter position for this great person if they're really that good? Or talk to them about it, figure it out. Now, again, you can have meetings. It's too much to cover of how you implement all this, but these are the things that we did, okay? So, in our last 15 minutes, I'm going to share with you a couple of, a whole bunch of key slides, and these are some takeaways you guys can have. If you guys want copies, I'll give it to Julie, but if you leave your business cards right up front on the table, I'll make sure you get it next week. I'll also send you a link to the video that I told you about, and I will raffle off. I have an unbelievable LinkedIn training. It's at neillinkedin.com. And I'll raffle off one of you will get that for free. All right, check out Neil LinkedIn when you get a chance. I will give it to you guys for $49. It's normally $199 if I forget. So, and again, I bring that up because you have to invest in training. I've mentioned that a whole bunch of times, but training and development is key. I don't care what your budget is. Just like mine. I put my money where my mouth is. We have no budget, we're losing money, and I'm going to spend $100,000 on a meeting because I knew we would get much more than $100,000 back. You got to invest in training with your people as they do, right? This culture of achievement, this recognition is not by accident, it's intentional, right? There's a whole plan, a whole strategy just around recognition because that keeps people engaged. Do you have an internal newsletter? I don't care if you're a 3-person firm. Do you have a newsletter whatever? You do it for your clients. You do it for the candidates. Again, recognize the people. Put some of your employees on your company newsletter, okay? They have fun. They have the right tools. They're fulfilled, right? These are all very key. KPI comes up a long way, and this is what disengages so many people in our industry. Key performance indicators, ratios, statistics, whatever you're tracking. It's super important. I do a whole boot camp and a whole 2-hour session on KPI. Really important, but most of you are using it wrong. It's become a beat-up tool. It's become a big brother thing in most companies. I'm sure many of you experience that working for someone else, right? Well, yeah, you didn't hit your numbers. The whole point of the KPI is to be a motivational tool. It will help engagement, to allow you to mentor, coach, teach. Use all your stats and your ratios to show where you're going to invest in the business. Look, we're really low here on our success of candidates to contract placement. We got to really work on the quality. It turns out we're not doing enough recruiting referral. Let's talk about it. If we do this, let's look at what can happen, and here's what we can do. This can help us invest in this new tool, a new job board, a new front office tool, whatever it is. Again, back to the whole vision thing. KPI are amazing at an individual level and at a business level to help show you where you can invest and where you can motivate and develop. And that's the key thing about KPI. Okay? Again, some of this stuff is redundant. Confidence is key. You as the leader, never, ever, ever, ever underestimate the power you have for their engagement. Okay? There is an expression, the fish stinks from the head down. Right? You know, if you've never heard it. I mean, the opposite holds true too. I don't know what the opposite is. Something that smells good from the bottom up, I don't know. You have amazing control over their moods. Okay? When you're in a bad mood, know that you can so easily affect the mood. And you all have had bosses like this. You can so easily affect the energy and the mood of your entire office. Fake it. They should never see you in a bad mood as much as you can. And I'm telling you, people are like, nah, Neil, what are you like, Superman? You're always in a good mood? BS. Trust me, I'm as moody as the next person. But I knew if I kicked the dog, that's not going to do any good. I could be firm. I could show that there's consequences for stuff. But if I'm having a bad day or something else, they're not going to see it. I was never, and again, you see this in lots of management courses, I was never, oh, I'm so tired. So wiped. What do you think that does? It's not good. Don't be that tired, wiped person. Don't underestimate that your energy level, and again, talking about the vision, and again, it's not just for the president of a big company. This is, again, me when I was branch manager, right? Me when I had 3 branches. It's all about the vision and being that preacher and about where we're going to go. And again, you don't have to be like me. You don't have to be a keynote speaker. Okay? It's just all about that energy and knowing the huge impact that you have. And again, for me, I went to many, many courses on it where they constantly talked about it. And I could completely relate to just how horrible many of my bosses were for my career. I mean, I'd come in on a great day, ready to ride, in a great mood, and they would just say something really stupid or just sap it right out of me. And that's what happens to a lot of your people. Okay, so your tone is key. And again, that tone is your personality. All right, and you're going to see another slide, but again, it doesn't matter which order we hit these in. But it's okay to be yourself, okay? Be realistic, be positive. This will pass. Here's what we're going to do. Okay, look, we didn't have a good quarter, but let's dissect it. Here's what we found, right? What do you think? Whatever. Okay? The tone is really key. And again, I think I gave you examples of celebrating, the appreciation, and all that sort of stuff. And again, really, really big. Okay? You have to be honest. Are you a leader of all the things that we've talked about? Have you tapped into your individuals? Have you tapped into what really makes them tick? And again, I don't mean any of these things where you have to figure out grids on them, and are they an A1, D2, S5, K3, are they in this quadrant? Again, all good stuff, but why are they coming to work every day? Are you someone worth following? That's really key for engagement. Are you a do as I say as I do? Do you have good ethics? Are you direct? Do you have, again, a vision? Okay? Again, how you are is how they're going to be. And you know what? I did not start that way. And most people don't. The thing about leading is it doesn't, I mean, some people, are they a born leader? Some people have a bunch of those traits in there. But it really is just I don't want to say an act. Because the more you act and do something, the more it becomes you. But it is indeed a persona that you're taking on, knowing that you're playing a role as leader. And I was completely different. I'm really, my professional life is completely different than my personal life. Really. I mean, so again, I just need you to think about that, okay? All right, so a couple other things and some key points in our next 5 or 10 minutes. When it comes to getting people in place, you got to, of course, hire the right people. And you need to hire people that Period. Strive for excellence. And again, it means you're going to have some positions that aren't filled, but you have to create a ridiculously high bar. Now, you have cancers in your office right now. You need to get rid of them. It's in every book, any session, any course that I've ever gone to, and I've lived this for the last 25 years in the business. Your cancer, I don't care if they're the person that is billing $400,000 a year and $250,000 in profit that's paying for your second home. Fire them. Because you're not able to build your office around them. And you all, in here, there's probably 20, 30 of you that is thinking, wow, I know he's talking about someone, just like Susie or Bill in my office. You got to get rid of them. They disengage other people. You have people that have quit because of them, and you're too gun shy to get rid of them. You got to get rid of them. I have done it over and over again, and yes, it hurt my financials for the first month or two, and it absolutely helped me, again, with all of these things together, double everyone else's results consistently for 15 years. Okay? So that stuff is really, really key. You got to do that. Again, I mentioned I just want to listen to people. I did set up ideas. I set up 3 email accounts. I suggest you do something like this, again, especially if you have more than 3 or 4 people. But I set up an email address called Ideas, one called Feedback, one called Hassles. And feedback would be for anything. Ideas would be new ideas to implement, something that we could change. And hassles, which I stole from Herb Kelleher, was people could just email it to hassles for anything that annoys them, that happens throughout the day that they think we can change. Really annoying that we have to do this. I encouraged the regular feedback. And again, it goes into them being understood, and they were amazed when they saw, and again, I would say, hey, thanks to Susie from St. Louis, who mentioned this, and now here's what we've done, or we've outsourced this, or here's what we've done, okay? So, again, finishing some thoughts, I think you guys get the gist of this. You are the face of it. Whatever you do, they're going to do, right? You yell, they yell. You screw off the whole time, they screw off. You work a life marathon constantly on the phone, and this is what the culture is. That's what they're going to do, and they're going to burn out and not be engaged. You sprint. You work really hard. When they're during their call blocks, you do your version of it, either the same or your owner-manager version of it. They'll follow you, right? If you're late, they'll be late. If you're late to meetings for them, again, little things. If I have a meeting with an employee, a manager, whomever, and it's for 1 o'clock, I treat them just like I do a client visit. It's 1 o'clock, I get off my phone call, and they come in at 1, not at 1:05, not at 1:10, which is, again, these are little things that you need to think about, and it sets a huge overall issue, right? One last book for you in our last 5 minutes. Jeff Fox, great stuff. Anyone read this book, How to Be a Great Boss? Really good stuff. Again, talks about a lot of this. I like his term, groom 'em or broom 'em. I've lived with it. You got to either groom somebody, decide what staff you have. What are they going to be groomed for? Where can I put them? Broom them, sweep them out, get rid of them, right? And as he says, let mediocrity consume them. Meaning, it's a problem that when you have mediocrity, it breeds mediocrity. If you don't get rid of people that are just okay, even though they're making you money, they're not that level, you will never build a level of the real stars that you need or the great talent or the fully engaged people that you need. Really, really key, and people are afraid to do it. Hire slowly and fire fast, I think, goes in the same concept. Okay, but I mentioned that earlier. Hire slowly, get those good people. Work to make sure it's worth keeping your position open. It's worth never settling. And then again, if they don't make it, broom them or groom them, and you make that determination. One of the last things I just want to move on that's really key is, again, teaching. We'll talk about over-communicate, I think I had. Well, I'll come to this, and then I just want to finish up with the last thought. But this is what I mentioned. I think I've beaten this to death. It is fine to be quirky. In fact, the most successful companies that they tracked have quirky leaders. I mean, again, Herb Kelleher, if you look at him, the Seattle Fish Market guy, you look at Jack Welch's, any of his books, it is fine. It is absolutely, be yourself. That's the irony. Don't try to, again, put on this persona of this conservative type person, okay? So I mentioned that. The last thing I want to mention is basically the gist is, if I don't get to it, all right, well, that is basically just saying what I mentioned. Screw the policy. Your policies for big companies, have some policies that you need. Well, we don't do it that way. I created all sorts of different commission plans around my people's strengths and what they needed. And I was yelled at, especially when our back office was taken over by our parent company. Well, what's up with you? I'm like, I don't know. We have twice the results of everyone else. It works. Screw off. Work around the people's strength. Oh, well, we don't do that. Well, can I work for them? No, well, we don't. We have a policy against that. Think about it. When you're told we have a policy against it, it's not an answer. You could say no. Don't stand behind a policy. Don't stand behind a handbook. Don't stand behind, well, that's not how it's done here. No. So what? Look, I'm not going to do it. Here's why. But again, don't stand behind policy. So what I wanted to show you, and when we talked about the belittling, was just, listen, here's the bottom line. We talked about that too. 7s hire 5s. And this is just leading off of the last point that I had. And this is key. Now, you need to, again, set the bar high. Some of you here, does anyone here have people that do hiring for your organization? I'm sure, right? All right, we have quite a few. 7s hire 5s, and this is how mediocrity sort of kills. And again, 7s are attracted to 7s or 5s or whatever. So again, that's assuming that you have 10 as this top level. Be aware of hiring these 7s, okay? 9s or 10s, really good people, and you've read this all the time. They're not afraid of good talent. They know it's going to make them more successful. A 9 or a 10 is never afraid. They're proud of that new star they brought in. They know that if they're looking to take over their job, they're going to be really successful. But it doesn't work that way as you start going down. And literally, this is one of the biggest things I learned. In one of my regions, I don't want to embarrass a person, but I visited every single branch in my first year. I could not believe how mediocre this one zone was. Like, the branch managers were disgusting in appearance and had this horrible attitude, and they exuded negative energy, and I'm like, God, I don't like them. And you know what? I mass insisted on firing people. Because I knew, of course, this manager is a 7. All their people, it's hysterical. And they all started, just like the owners start looking, the dogs and owners start looking alike. You ever see those things? It was literally, seriously, each branch I'd go in, you'd have the dumpy, schlumpy, non-energetic managers. Hey, Neil, glad to meet you. And then I'd go and, this is my sales rep. Hey, Neil, glad to meet you. Hi, this is Sally. Hey, Neil, glad to meet you. I mean, really, Sally was not a looker. Okay. So I think you guys get my point. And so listen, there's a lot more that I could talk about. There's some great other tips here. I'm going to leave you with this one. And this is key also for engagement. What you're looking to do is build around, of course, your good people. You're looking to get very actively engaged people, right? And you're looking for them to ignite others. And it becomes very self-fulfilling. Right? Normally, self-fulfilling prophecy is negative. Let's call it the Pygmalion effect, whatever you want. It becomes very, very fulfilling. But most of you do the opposite of this. Spend 90% of your time engaging your stars. Spend 90% of your time with your good person people, not the other way around. And again, in the earlier courses I went, here's how we can turn this person from a B to an A, and it made no sense. And I got to say this, I absolutely learned this. When I became president, it took the global guy to sit down and say, Neil, let me teach you something very, very valuable. Spend 90% of your time with your best people. You're doing, and he was right. I went into all the troubled branches, all the places I had to fix, all the people I had to turn around. He said, you're doing it backwards. I want you to start and lock up and build on the success that you have, right? And there's all sorts of studies. You have a successful business or you have multiple branches, you're always going to do much better with the successful ones. It works the same at an individual level. All right, so that said, I hope I kept you engaged, I've lost my voice over this during the last 75 minutes. I am now thrilled to say that you're going to be able to have some nice cocktails and some appetizers, and I will see you out there. I had a great time. Leave your business cards up here if you want to be in the free LinkedIn training. I'll also email you all that stuff. You can leave it right here. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your conference, and carpe diem.
Thank you, Neil, and thank you, everybody, for a great day today. If you'll please exit the conference room, head back toward the lobby. When you get to Okamel, take a right. The networking reception, sponsored by iLabor, is right out the door. Please enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Try to tame him in the red love machine.